Hello and welcome to this video presentation. In this video you will learn about key concepts related to environmental impact assessment. The contents of this video are EIA definition and objective, EIA procedure, EIA screening, EIA scoping, environmental impacts and mitigation, risk and health assessment, environmental management plan, and environmental auditing. Definition and objectives of environmental impact assessment. EIA is a systematic procedure that is used to identify, describe, evaluate, and mitigate the potential environmental impacts of a proposed project prior to major decisions and commitments being made. The objectives are to provide information on the environmental and social consequences necessary for decision making, and to promote environmentally sound and sustainable development through the identification of appropriate alternatives and mitigation measures. Environmental impact assessment steps and procedure. There are 7 major steps in EIA study, starting with screening and ends with review and decision making regarding EIA approval. Screening includes project description, terms of reference, and identifying alternatives. Scoping of EIA includes developing a stakeholder engagement plan, assessment of potential impacts, developing a stakeholder engagement plan, and assessment of potential impacts. Impact assessment includes verifying and predicting impacts, defining magnitude, receptor sensitiveness, identify residual impacts, impact significance, likelihood of events. Mitigation measures includes developing mitigation measures and grievance mechanism. Management plan includes defining mitigation in management plans, defining monitoring requirements and timeframes, defining emergency responses and management, defining roles and defining reporting requirements, and compilation of documents. And finally, review and decisions of EIA include government and sponsors review of EIA report, which will result to approval or rejection of environmental impact assessment report. Environmental screening. Screening is the first step of EIA study, and this step, the terms of reference for a detailed environmental impact assessment is developed. Terms of reference or TOR document is a mandatory requirement for a detailed environmental impact assessment. The contents of the TOR document or terms of reference are project proponent, list of consultants, statement of need, project description, project options, description of existing environment, baseline information on the proposed location, mitigation and abatement measures, project location and existing land uses, residual impacts, potential significant impacts, and environmental management plan. Project description and baseline data in environmental impact assessment study. The baseline data in EIA study can include geology insights, water resources, air quality, biodiversity, topography, socio-economic setting, and climate. The project description can include project area and sub-areas of influence, operational considerations, site layout and build form, on-site and off-site infrastructure, design and technical specifications, site description, and area overview. Environmental impact assessment scoping. The purpose of scoping is to focus the EIA on the environmental issues and potential impacts which need the most thorough attention, and to identify those which are unlikely to need detailed study. The contents of environmental scoping for a typical international airport development project can include traffic and transport, air quality, noise and vibration, biodiversity, water resources, health and safety, resource efficiency, waste management, landscape and visual, archaeology and cultural heritage, and geology and sites. Impact assessment and mitigation. The actions that are to be undertaken to determine the significance of potential project impacts involves the following key steps: prediction, impact type, significance evaluation, impact magnitude, impact mitigation, and impact likelihood. This table shows an example of part of impact significance assessment for an international airport development project. Risk and health assessment. The main steps for risk and health assessment are the following: hazard identification, consequence and impact analysis, likelihood analysis, calculation of risks, and interpretation of risk results. The risk and health assessment techniques for different stages of EIA are different, as shown in the following. This table is a typical risk assessment and rating for an international airport development project. Environmental management plan. Environmental management plan is a plan of action that provides the actions required to address environmental issues as well as to cross-check the effectiveness of the mitigation measures in place. It has procedures to guide ongoing implementation of environmental protection, including monitoring results of mitigation actions or other appropriate steps designed for construction in normal operation conditions. This table shows environmental management plan for an international airport development project. The main elements of environmental impact assessment management plan are administrative step, legislative requirements, monitoring programs, and action in report. Environmental management plan also include noise management plan, stormwater management plan, earthwork management plan, waste minimization plan, site spill management plan, wildlife hazard management plan, soil management plan, and fire management plan. Environmental auditing. It is a mandatory requirement for EIA studies to ensure that all conditions attached to EIA approval letter are complied with accordingly. The environmental audit report should comply with all monitoring requirements, should comply with all standards and guidelines, should comply with all proposed plans submitted to governments, and should comply to mitigation measures.